One, two,
Standing
go.
by. You know.
Here we go.
Hey, everybody, you're listening to and possibly watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
And we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in or possibly stream in. It's been 3 weeks since we've been with you. A lot has gone on. 2 of us traveled, and we'll talk about that in the sort of preamble section, but then we got some nice, juicy comic books to talk to you about.
Juicy comics.
Juicy.
Just
Juicy is the word.
dripping.
Yeah. Succulent.
Every time I hear the word succulent, I think suffering succotash.
It went to which places right off the bat.
Oh, boy.
So one of us traveled across the country, but one of us was an international traveler, and I think we should hear from him first.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I for the first time ever, actually, which I know a lot, like as much as I do travel and stuff in the States, this was my first time getting out of the U.S. So the husband and I and 2 of our friends jumped up and loaded a couple planes, and we flew to Greece. We spent a few days in Santorini and spent a day and a half, 2 days in Athens, and then accidentally, because some poor, I don't know, like I assume that they're okay, I hope, but some poor person had a heart attack on the flight back, literally, from what we understand. We had to do an emergency stop in Edinburgh, which just disrupted everything. Wasn't a heart attack, but I mean, it came with travel woes. And so we got to spend, a night in Edinburgh unexpectedly. But no, the bulk of the time was spent in Santorini. Absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. A volcanic island in paradise. What more do you need? It is, I would say, if you're weighing pros and cons, it depends on where you're at with it, but it is a port destination for a lot of cruise ships. So you're getting a lot of like tourist heavy locations in the, kind of the 3 different cities, but still a ton of history, a ton of amazing scenery. Got out, went for some runs, went through some vineyards. Found an old lady who made dolmas, and it was wonderful. Out of a cart, saw some donkeys, saw monasteries. They had, we're from the United States, where we're about to celebrate our 250th anniversary. In the grand scheme of history, we haven't been around that long. They have retaining walls for fields that are older than our nation. That's cool, right? It's cool to be in some place that old. Had an absolute blast. Then we went to Athens. Now, everyone who I talked to, a lot of people who've traveled, they were like, go to the islands, go see the islands, and then really you can do Athens in a day, Athens in 2 days. If you're wanting to go see the Parthenon and see all the stuff like that, but you can do that in a little short time. Don't spend all your time in Athens; you won't like it. In my experience, for the way that I like to travel, it would be reversed. I could have gone to Santorini for a hot weekend, had a blast, and then spent 3 or 4 days in Athens just walking around, seeing the ancient sites, but really just like soaking it all in. And just like I said, you guys know how I like to do. I like to just go for walks when I'm in new places, just to go see what's out there, stop in random places, see where people live. That's the kind of traveling I like to do. So, but cannot wait to go more places. Can't wait for the next trip. Would definitely go again. Would love to see some of the other islands. And other than the fact that I could not find a bookstore to buy anything in, Yeah, not any big woes. I did want to. I told Bill before the show started, I was really looking for or trying to find some type of like classic comic book that is in Greek. I've got a copy of like Snowpiercer in French that Craig got me when he came back from from France. I've got one or two other hardback kind of compendium things or in some type of foreign language. I would love a copy of like Watchmen in Greek, but
Yeah.
all the bookstores I went to that were there were kind of secondhand shops or just kind of like educational bookstores. And then the one bookstore that I think would have had a graphic novel selection possibly was closed every time I tried to go to it because apparently the dude that owns it is just loaded and just does what he wants, which kudos for him, man. You live on an amazing island, you have a bookstore. That's a hobby. Okay. Lots of good beverages were had, good food was had. One of the best lamb shanks I've ever had in my life. Seafood, I've had better seafood. That's
Oh, really?
not surprising. Yeah. I've had a
Huh.
lot better seafood. But still, nothing that I spit out of my mouth. And fucking Grecian men, good God. So anyway, but yeah, that was my travels. So had a really, really good time. If you follow me on Instagram, you can go see lots of little pics. If you want to scroll back, you can follow me at Council of Caleb. Council, like, lawyer, council of Caleb. That's my Instagram handle. Come check me out. Follow my pictures. I need the ego boost. Give me followers.
How many followers
that's
do you have?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really keep up with that.
I have an insane amount of followers on
You're
Instagram.
low key famous. You're like a bear celebrity. Like when you talk, like when you talk about the A-list bears, I'm like, yeah, but from my perspective, you are an A-list bear. Like,
Yeah.
so you could so I have 931 followers.
Okay,
Not
we got to do something about that. I'll help you do something about that. I don't know how it happened because I don't make any content that's different from my other streams. I just seem to, hit a nerve in
Yeah.
Instagram. The main reason I said that is because a friend of mine is an actor. We talked about, he's also my concert husband. And, there are points where he can't even get auditions if his social numbers aren't high enough.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
trying to, me and some other people are trying to, help him, get up there with posts. So.
I mean, I think that's why so many people kind of fell into the like the bot trap where it's just like, hey, I got to get a lot of followers really fast. What do? Oh, you just get a whole bunch of those services that just give you more or less fake followers. But some people just need that as a leg up, and then it gets them on the radar of the majority of other people. It's all about the algorithm, and then you can actually get real people following you, which is it's you don't want to get bots, but then you want to get the real people, but then you get the real people, and then you're stuck with all these bots, and you're like, I need some real
funny you should mention algorithm because we actually have a conversation that is titled the Bill and Steve algorithm because we get the same material in our feeds. Like
we get a lot of the same material.
And it's not even like these are like premier creators. Sometimes these are really obscure stuff.
Well, then again, we like some of the same niche stuff, so it just kind of
true. Yeah.
Anytime I see a video that pops up with dogs running into small children,
no, that's me.
I think of you.
My favorite thing in the world. My favorite thing in the world. Like if I was in a coma and you wanted to wake me up, you just put a loop of children being knocked down by animals, and at some point I will revive. I swear to God, it's my favorite thing in the world. Oh,
yeah.
So good.
So
good.
It is funny, and every time I see one, I definitely think of you, and usually send it to you, and then you're like, "Yeah, I already got this one."
Yeah, I had that
same algorithm. Same algorithm.
Yeah, that's my husband with like funny dog gifs or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
I don't even know what they're called anymore. That's like I'll see one finally because all of my Facebook or Instagram or even TikTok stuff, is he thinks it's boring. I think it's fascinating. Like I watch people explaining things, like people who are professionals. They're like I like that kind of stuff. And he was just like, but it's not funny. And I'm like, I didn't say it was. And he was like, well, why are you watching it? I'm like, I'm learning things. And but yeah, when I do see the silly dog pictures, he's like, oh, I saw that yesterday. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Of course you did.
well, I was working.
My love language is memes. That's basically a new thing now. It's 30 memes in a row.
So I did a little bit of travel, but before I did that, I went to 2 days of New York Comic Con. And was very glad that I did. Last year, I only did 1 day, and it certainly wasn't enough. 2 days was good. For my old ass, 2 days was really good.
Yeah.
So, went to panels mainly because of the feet. But it was strange, though, because, and I'll have some New York Comic Con stuff when we get to Geek Gets. But New York Comic Con, I'm not saying it's not a good shopping show, but it's not a convenient shopping show. The aisles are, and you both have been veterans of it, so you've been to the event before. That there are points, particularly Friday through Sunday, where it's very tight on the main floor, on the main area where the vendors are. And in the last few years, Artist Alley has gotten as bad as that. When they moved Artist Alley from the extension, which is no longer there, down to the lower level.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times where if you went to get Artist Alley, I mean, I remember I was, just going to get drop something off from my friend Keith, who was tabling, and it was like, I'm coming. I swear to God.
And that would be less annoying if those people were there to buy from artists and stuff like that. But it's like kind of like when I went, it was the same deal. And it's because some jackass in an 8-foot tall Transformers cosplay is stopping for selfies in the aisle every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's what I don't like. Right. And it's not that I don't like the guy in the really cool cosplay. I think that's great. Right. Go do that over there where you're not like blocking these artists from making a living.
Yeah. There was 1 year at MegaCon where they did the best thing, and they had a runway.
Yeah.
And that was ideal. You could get your pics, and then when people came off the runway, if you wanted to get your pics with the person who was cosplaying, you had the opportunity then, and it didn't disrupt at all the floor. I mean, there were some stop and looky-loos, to borrow another podcast term. But it was, you did encounter that as much. I was kind of glad I wasn't there on Saturday, because Saturday tends to be the really heavy cosplay day at New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
But one of the panels I went to was within the queer lounge, and I know Caleb would have been happy with me sitting next to me for the Gasians panel.
Yeah, I loved getting to hear you talk about that.
And I was very frustrated because the time another panel ended, there was one that was being moderated by Mark Andraco over in the Pride Lounge, and there was just no way for me to finish that thing and get over. And my friends Sharon and Andrew went, and they couldn't get in. It was just too packed.
Wow.
So, but it's not a very big room. If it fits like 75 seats, it's a lot. But
I like that we have a lounge, though.
Yeah, no, and it's great because it's especially. I mean, even at New York Comic Con, there was some dope in a MAGA hat at the Star Trek panel. I mean, what do you do? Just see it as Space Navy? You're not watching it. It's not registering with you. So the importance of safe spaces, remains paramount. And I was glad they had that there. There's certain things I like. I love at the Marvel panels that you get like exclusive variant covers as giveaways at those. And I always tend to go to some of the big two just because they come at nice times.
Yeah.
The times that they are put on are really good. and I think so next year is New York Comic Con's 20th year. I've been to 17 of them. Would have been 18, but they didn't have one in 2020.
Right.
That's
So I've
pretty
been to
awesome.
17 of the 19, and yeah, it's just something I kind of have to do at this point every year.
Well, it's such close proximity to you. Like that's one thing I get jealous of you and some of the other friends that we have who are in that Northeast region. I don't have the huge cons here. I'll meet up with Newberry in Memphis every once in a while at one of their cons. Little Rock cons are okay, but it's mostly a couple of voice actors and some not a lot of like actual comic stuff. But like that's what I love about you, the folks who live in the Northeast, is I get to live vicariously through y'all. Y'all go to the Jersey cons, you go to New York Comic Con, you go to the one that was last week in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all it's like Jason Wood can jump on a train and go a few hours kind of in any direction. You can do that too, and in a few hours you're at all of these major metropolitan areas with all these great cons, where I just don't have that in the region that I'm at.
Yeah, about the only area I haven't gone to one that's in directly within the Northeast corridor has been Boston. I've never been to a Comic Con in Boston. I wouldn't mind doing that at some point.
Well, because didn't you just recently go? You went to the one in Connecticut. What was that? Terrificon?
Terrificon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Terrificon.
In
Not a
Uncasville.
day trip. It turns out it's not a day trip. And that's not because of distance. It's just because of traffic.
Yes.
Connecticut is its own monster with traffic.
Yeah.
You don't know unless you live there or had to drive through it. It looks
and
small, but it takes forever.
At least for me, it tends to be Moses traffic for me. That you drive and stops, and then all of a sudden it opens up, and there's no indication of
why
accident or construction or anything like that. Just it's Moses,
Yeah.
So the reason that New York Comic Con that I couldn't do more than 2 days is because I was going to the Out and Equal Summit in Seattle, where it was this year. And this is my third time going, and it basically is corporate representation for queer people, and it's 3 days of summits and workshops and panels discussing I don't want to say challenges, but the issues that people may be encountering. My own company had its own day on the Monday, so got that out of the way. They had a fantastic reception for us at the Museum of Pop Culture.
Nice.
It used to be the Experience, what that was called, Experience Foundation Museum, whatever. And it was a very nice note to start the day on. And throughout the few days that I was there, I got to meet a lot of guys that I had only met online. Thanks, salute to all of them, because it was great meeting all of them. Also spent an afternoon with our former co-host Brian and his boyfriend Brendan. So it was great to see him. And one of the trips I went to the Funko flagship store close by Everett, Washington.
So jealous.
It was great because it was also like a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah.
My friend Colin, and I would like to get Colin on the show at some point. I don't know how much you can talk about it, but he was one of the lead designers for the Wonder Woman game that got canceled when Monolith went under. He landed okay. He's working on big property games, and maybe we could talk to him about that too. But he has a lot of stories because he lived with Wonder Woman for 3 years, essentially. And it just sounded so cool. Oh, it was a comic book game. Of course there were some, nods to Gal Gadot's version of Wonder Woman, but it was essentially a comic book game, and it sounded so cool. Oh man.
Yeah.
But it was a spur of the moment thing when I've never been up there. Oh, I've never been up there either. Let's go. And we had a great time.
Did you find anything cool while you were there? Is that,
Oh yeah, but I'm leaving that for the geek gets.
Gotcha.
I'm
I was
leaving
gonna,
that
I was gonna ask. Okay.
Yeah, no, I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff. My main luggage increased from 24 pounds to 46.
Nice.
Put it that way. Plus, also at the summit, there's a marketplace. It's not really a marketplace because they don't sell anything. It's all giveaway swag and stuff, and I got some cool stuff there too. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't joined you in 3 weeks, because we had little breaks there. Yeah,
I've been living vicariously through both of you guys.
Have you done anything?
Well, no,
this
I've been
week?
holding down the fort here. My husband is, for most of September, he was over in Colorado because of family. But this month is also a big month for him because he's one of the designers for the CU Boulder Opera, and this is prime opera seasons for the fall. So he's there working on a show right now, and we'll be back in November. But that means that somebody had to take care of the zoo, and so that's me, because I can work from home. I'm lucky enough I can work from home, so it's not a problem. I can take care of the dogs who are pleasantly sleeping here on the on one of the dog beds on the floor, and then of course the 3 cats and the 12 birds and the turtle and all the plants. So many plants to water. It is crazy. So
Well, I'm glad you're hanging in there.
Yeah, but I did have, a great sort of annual tradition to distract me, and that is my 31 days of horror movies for October. So I've been going through every single day. I've been very good, and I haven't missed a day at all. I may have missed a day in posting here and there, but I get that taken care of pretty quickly. But I've been going through that, and this week specifically is my Camp Sucks marathon. So it's all camp related slasher movies. Started on Sunday, goes through Saturday, and I've been watching some doozies that I didn't know existed, and I'm shocked that some of them do exist. So
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun.
In terms of the camp, I know if you follow me, you'll see that every so often I post when I'm in North Jersey that I stop at Rutt's Hut, which is deep fried hot dogs, which I know Caleb was like, oh my God, that sounds like the most delicious thing ever. And it is. Rutt's Hut was actually closed for a week because they filmed a substantial number of scenes for the Friday the 13th prequel.
Really?
Rutt's Hut, yeah. And also, like all the filming for the prequel is in New Jersey in kind of a nod to the first film.
Yeah, deep fried hot dogs.
Cool.
That sounds like state fair food, and that's
Yeah.
Well,
they have
my meal of the week,
and it's like one of these secret menu places, that you can order a ripper where it stays in long enough for the casing to rip open. They also have In and Out, where it's deep fried, but it doesn't last, hold in there that long. But yeah.
That's pretty
and
cool.
It's so funny because like before we were talking, I was like, I gotta lose weight. Now I'm like,
fried hot dogs.
Yeah. I have to. I think I'm gonna need to do a diet where there is a cheat day. I pasta and hot dogs. It's tough, man. It's gonna be tough.
Fried pasta with fried hot dogs in it. It's just a hot dog made of fried pasta.
Yeah, okay. Why'd you have to make it go to weird places? Like, I don't know why you do that.
Combining those things.
So, Steve, take it to a good place. Take us to the news, okay?
Oh, and it's shockingly, we've got a lot of good news. Now we do have some disappointing news. So I'm going to do a sandwich here. I think we'll do the corporate sandwich, where it's like we say one good thing, then we do a bad thing, and then we do another good thing, so everybody's happy. So the first good news here, and it's actually a pretty good one for the industry as a whole, is that comic sales are up again year on year, like 18% growth, which is actually pretty good for an industry that I think 5 years ago people were saying was dying out completely, would be gone within a few years. I think the death knell has been tolling since I think the probably the first half of the 90s. Would you say, like, since the
No,
speculator bubble,
mid 90s.
midnight? So, well, yeah, you know, like
The first half of the
94.
90s, I think anybody would be happy with the numbers of even the number 70.
Well, yeah, but then like
Comic book, yeah,
once
I think
94
you're good.
became 95, it was like
Yeah,
boom.
when the implosion happened. But you got to remember, like, there were some numbers from the early 90s that are just phenomenal.
Millions of copies
Millions.
sold, or you know, at least purchased by somebody.
The peak was Turok number 4. Sorry, Turok number 1 sold 1.5 million copies that month.
Jesus.
And it was the 4th highest selling book that month. Is the most that's the most amazing stat, where I think the top 5 issues were all over 1 million, and I think the top 12 issues, there wasn't anything that was lower than 800,000 that month.
Yeah, which is wild.
You just
but it was also
can't imagine.
it was the era of, you know, special issues, you
Mm-hmm.
know, special covers, giant crossovers, and big things. You know, you got the
Part
Death
of
Superman, you
variant
had
covers.
Nightfall,
Yeah.
you had the you know, the output that Image was providing. Everybody was buying a ton of copies of each of those issues when they were released. You know, like it was just flying off shelves.
Yeah.
So, and eventually into people's boxes of flea markets, apparently. But you know, this is definitely really good. It's again, you know, sales were kind of poor during the first part of the pandemic because there was nothing that was being distributed. Nothing was really.
The only thing where sales went up was back issues.
Back issues
Went crazy during the pandemic.
And graphic novels that were in stock. So stocked graphic novels started to you know, to sell.
Digital had an uptick the first few months. One very big seller was the first issue of Batman: The Adventures Continue. I think that was like almost in the millions. But you know, we've had very much a leveling off of digital, where at this point digital is about 4% of the marketplace.
Yeah.
And you know, it never got higher than 8.
Which I think surprised a lot of people because they were, again, you know, one of the latest or one of the more recent, I would say, death knells, like, hey, the industry is going to collapse, there won't be any more paper or whatever, was when digital started being bundled in with issues and they started pushing, you know, the digital platforms. Marvel had theirs, DC, Dark Horse, Image, everybody had their own platform, and Comixology was reigning supreme. Well, you know, we saw what happened to Comixology. Basically, everybody else has kind of gone to the subscription model.
Crazy.
It is. That was
crazy.
so.
Kindle
It was such a poor decision.
Unfriendly to certain searches.
Oh, I mean, that was probably the best way to read digital comics, in the most efficient way. And it was a very good comics reader. And then they just overnight made it the worst possible reading experience it could possibly be. And that was so frustrating because, like, I'm in a position now to where I've switched over to reading comics mostly digitally. In a lot, like, I still have my pull list, still get a few titles. But, you know, I prefer now just to, if I'm going to collect things in like a physical medium, I want the collection because frankly, they're written that way. I like to read them better. I think the shelf porn is cool. So I get them that way. But like now I'm reading digitally more, and it's just like, oh, well, okay, I guess it's harder to find, you know, do I have to have the Marvel subscription and the DC subscription and the comics, whatever subscription, this, that, and the other. And like I have 4 subscriptions that I have now, and none of them are frankly as good as what Comixology used to be as far as like a user friend. And it blows my mind. I hope whoever made that decision, I hope there were repercussions.
I hope they're cursed with jock itch for the rest of their lives. And the
feeling I had with Comixology is it almost felt to me that was a platform created by people who love comic books.
Yeah.
Who were reading comic books, that knew that page turning is part of the aesthetic. And, you know, there was no reason that Amazon just couldn't have just said Kindle Comics and just left the app as
Yeah, that's all you
Yeah.
had to do.
direct integration. I just don't understand it. Don't
Yeah,
fix
especially
what
now
ain't
that
broke.
especially now that they're pushing their color their color version of the Kindle, and it's getting a lot easier to read on other platforms like an iPad or anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh well, whatever.
So
They lost
frustrating.
opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the sales have actually been going up. Bill, you had mentioned at New York Comic Con they talked about it a lot. How
Two panels. They said it's not
Yeah.
just that comic book sales are up; it's that they're up a lot.
Yeah.
I think the numbers were the big two are up like something like 14%, both of them.
Yeah. Overall, it's 18%.
Overall it's
everybody,
18%. I think
Yeah, for everybody.
I think the biggest increase without the major indies,
Mhm.
your Images and your Dark Horse, and Dark Horse really fell for a bit.
Well, they lost all the licenses.
Well,
Yeah, they
I was going to ask, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but it was, I think it was earlier this year, and I forget what con it was, when all the news got made because Robert Kirkman said something in a panel where he was basically like, I've seen the numbers. Batman's only selling 62,000 copies. Like they're propping these numbers up. And it like made all of this kind of these waves even earlier this year where they were talking about that because of some of the Kirkman comments that were made about how bad sales were doing. And now we're hearing that actually, no, they're
really
actually
good
up
stuff. Yeah.
and they're doing great. So, and Kirkman never had receipts. So I'm not saying he was wrong, but he never showed receipts. It seems like the folks that were
And
saying,
we don't know if he was talking about the Batman main title or an ancillary title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very conceivable that Batman the Brave and the Bold was selling, 62,000 copies.
But now when you look at a chart, a weekly chart or a monthly chart, it's not just Batman titles and Spider-Man titles. It's now absolute titles.
Yes,
From DC,
Uncanny
you've got
X-Men is hanging in there as a top 10 title.
I mean,
Um,
it's surprising, what you're seeing in the mix, and it's good to see a mix, and not just the same like Wolverine and Spider-Man and Batman books. They're still there, obviously, but because you can't beat those apparently. But I mean, it's pretty good, and it's funny that we're talking about this, of course, with all of the issues around Diamond and the collapse and the bankruptcy and all that stuff, that people are still able to get their comics or get their hands on comics.
But I think a lot of that was the major publishers has contingency plans.
Exactly. And they've been building those contingencies since 2020. So that's good.
And you've also seen some independents, gain a much bigger stake in the marketplace, particularly Mad Cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now a little bit of bad news for those of you who are fans of more European comics and getting titles from Mobius and other major European titles that have been distributed over the years, but also some homegrown indie titles. A few years ago, they experimented with interesting superhero comics and more sort of action oriented comics. But the publisher Humanoids in the U.S. Has filed for Chapter 7, which is that is the bad one. That is the one that you don't want to file for, because that basically means it's donezo for you. And this comes after from a few months ago in the summer, where the French, the original French company did also go into receivership and dissolution. So, it was a matter of time given what happened to the parent company, but it is still kind of disappointing. And my curiosity here then is what happens to all of those Mobius titles, all of those classic titles now, and the rights for those. I'm sure those will be going up for auction. Either that or reverting back
I'm
to...
certain there's going to be reverting to creators more than that. As far as I know, like there's there, especially with the way that European contracts are set up, it's more licenses than owned.
So in those cases, they could just go back to the estates
for a very long time. But so I mean, and Humanoid has been horrible in the last few years in terms of trade collection.
Right.
I'm still waiting for Savage Sword of Jesus Christ. There's no reason that shouldn't be collected.
Right.
Yeah.
Has human? I mean, I'm trying to remember, like, because I personally I haven't read a lot of humanoid stuff, but I was trying to remember. I know was it humanoids that did a lot of the Mobius reprints and things like
Well,
that.
I mean, he founded the company. Or
Okay,
one of the founders of the company originally. So yeah, I mean, most of them were published stateside with humanoids.
like I've got, and I
reprints.
don't even know that I'm looking back at my shelf. Like I've got some of the Mobius hardcovers. I assume they're probably humanoids. Then I don't know that I've ever actually realized they were humanoids, but that may be the only humanoid stuff that I ever have. Like I've got the Inkle, so
Yeah.
just it's interesting because I know this had a big footprint. It's just not something that I've ever really tapped into. It's not ever gravitated towards it.
Yeah, Steve, just to make me happy, can you say Metal Hurlant in the way that you say it?
Metallolant.
Okay, thank you.
Metallolant.
I just needed that.
So humanoids. I actually do have digitally, and I remember it was part of a sale. I think years ago, they did a Humble Bundle sale, and so I got the entire Metal Baron saga, all the Incal, all of everything that they
I
could
got a
possibly
lot of that. Barbarella, the original Barbarella, I got as part of a
yeah. So there's a lot of classic stuff in the catalog. So yeah, I've got none of the Metal Barons I've touched, but they are cool. So it's nice that they're there in case I want to read them.
I did read some of the Meta Baron stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the Meta Barons were. I'm trying to think, like, when he did that. I think he did that after the Incal because it was just a massive saga.
I don't know his time frame at all.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer was 88. That's all I
know. But anyway, so that's disappointing news. But the other good thing, and there's actually two. One of them is like a personal yay that came out of New York Comic Con, and that is the return of Vertigo. And there's a lot of titles. I don't know how many will last. I remember,
some are miniseries.
Yeah.
Some are, at least bannered as ongoings to begin with. That was a lot of fun being at the Vertigo panel and texting you guys with
like, oh my God, look. Oh my God, look. Oh my God, look.
It's a nice balance of, interesting new creations and nods to the past, particularly with the them finally being able to provide to us the end of Rick Veitch's Swamp Thing.
That I think is probably what I'm most excited about out of that panel. That just to put it on the shelf.
I'm excited that the label's back for one, and that they're further distinguishing it from DC Black, where DC Black is now only going to be the mainstream DC characters, but in more adult, more mature titles. And Vertigo is designed like it has originally been.
So people don't get confused, it's Black Label.
Black Label, yeah. The DC Black Label stuff. And Vertigo was always more of an indie creator focused, and this is now where it's going back to.
And one thing I liked about it is there are a couple titles by creators I've barely heard of. And that's refreshing that it wasn't just like vanity projects for, marquee authors, which there were times when Vertigo was that, and that's okay. But, there were times where, it was basically all established and that, then something new and revolutionary would come in. So it's a welcome return. I've always said Vertigo was a comic book death.
It was bound to come back. Somebody would resurrect it somehow. I'm just happy, Bill, that nobody in the panel was an absolute wise ass and was like, well, what about Fables? Because I would have dragged him out in that case.
Yeah.
I'm just excited for that. And then the other good news, this one we did talk about a little bit earlier, is the fact that it's been announced that the Energon universe from Image, Kirkman's big line of Transformers and G.I. Joe and Void Rivals, that sort of universe revival, is getting animated series. So we will be able to watch some new Transformers, G.I. Joe, and maybe Void Rivals cartoons. But it's all going to be in that shared universe, and that's pretty cool. So I'm excited for that because I've been loving Transformers. I've been enjoying G.I. Joe, and Void Rivals. I've been following it since day one. Really enjoyed. So, yay. Good news. It's not all bankruptcies.
No, and
This has been a year of bankruptcies, and
I
I'm
think
done
it's
with them.
also very important to signify that with the Energon universe, that this is being formatted as something like Invincible, where it's an adult cartoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, I don't think Hasbro's ever gone that route, honestly.
No.
They've
Well,
never had
I'm sure that
problem
it'll be maybe more
maybe
sort
the
of like
Ouija
older
movie, that was
teen.
about it.
Yeah.
That was-
You could always argue that Witchboard was the first of the R-rated Ouija movies.
The thing
That was one I watched this
finding
year. This
strange
month.
with Hasbro, though, and I wonder if it's a contractual thing, is the initial reason why they ended the writers' room for Hasbro films was because they didn't provide for integration of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when Hasbro brought that property, and it's it's still at another company. It's not an Image yet. I wonder if there's some contractual thing where it basically has to be a separate, almost a separate property for a while.
I don't know. I'm sure the rights are kind of weird anyway, because
I was going to say, doesn't
you know.
Bandai have a chunk of that or something?
I don't know how that works out. Bandai does not make the toys anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Like even in Japan at this point.
Uh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not versed in Power Rangers.
I just want you to be proud of me for making the Bandai reference because that's not my world. So,
Round of applause. Round of applause.
Bravo.
baby's growing. Just
That's awesome. But yeah, so that's I mean, I'm just happy that there's finally some good news with comics this year. So
yeah, and people can also see that there were a lot of smaller announcements at New York Comic Con, and as much as one of us detests the site, Bleeding Cool is a very good distillation of things that were announced there.
sometimes the comments section can be a lot of
Well, that's anywhere now. I mean,
alternately hilariously fun or just depressing.
Oh God Almighty!
Yeah.
Living in here in New Jersey right now, outlets like the Asbury Park Press, I'm like, you do know that Bruce Springsteen and John Bon Jovi are from New Jersey, right? Oh God! Well, Jersey Mag is its own weird ass fucking thing. It's so weird. You're so fucking weird. Oh,
I got
right.
nothing.
and keep it that way,
Yeah.
please. Keep it that way. All right. Do you want to go on to some comic books?
I heard.
I think we got a bunch of comics to talk about.
Yeah, I think I probably should go first. I think I'm going to go first and then go last. How does that sound?
That works.
You are the
That
Alpha
works.
and the Omega.
I am, and that feeds in perfectly with
I know. That was
the
on
event that I'm
purpose.
going to talk about, and that's DC K.O.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, I think you have like a more normal.
I have a few graphics.
I think you have a
maybe
more normal graphic for the first issue than the bag that I have right now.
Let's see if I can just go ahead and pull
I
it
got a
up here.
bag. Okay, there we go. I just want to say that this was a situation that I bought this at New York Comic Con. It was called a Lights Out poly bag. It was one of the incentives where you did not know what variant cover you got. So it was a blind bag. I did get one of the premium covers, but I don't know what happened in the transit, but I got some dents here. Yeah, it's so sad. So this is the Ben Oliver cover for Superman. It's going to be lousy here with the lighting, but I think I did provide for you.
You did. There's a better image of it if you're following me online.
It's pretty fucking hot there.
Yeah.
That cover. So what's going on with DC K.O.? you have to, I would say, dumb yourself down a little bit to enjoy this, because it's just comic booky, big splashy art, fighting fun. There's nothing that intellectually is going to stimulate you. And if you go in under that pretext, I think you're going to enjoy it. There were two prelude to DC K.O. issues. The first was the Justice League Unlimited number 11, which led directly into Justice League, the Omega Act Special number 1. You don't necessarily need these to enjoy your DC K.O. Experience. So DC K.O. means knockout. And yes, we do have a contest. I'm going to try to encapsulate this as succinctly as possible, and then we can understand where we're at and some of the few nuances that we can talk about here. So when Darkseid died, his energies were dissipated. A lot of them went into the absolute universe. Some of them went into some other denizens of the main DC Earth, most prominently Booster Gold. And Booster, along with some other characters, the Time Trapper, the World Forger, Gorilla Grodd, have come together, and they are establishing that the Earth, and the nexus point is in Skartaris, if you know Warlord Fair and the connection to Atlantis. There's a lot of sense makes that a nexus point would be there, that the energies are collecting in that area. And there is an excellent framing sequence in KO where was it KO or was it the special? Let me just get this correct here. Or was it the Omega Act special? It's in the Omega Act special where we see Superman's mother on Krypton, diving for artifacts with her sister, and they come across Darkseid iconography. So this is something that has been established for a very long time. And through the issue, they think that they've translated it as Omega Weapon. And when they actually do go through more proper channels for the translation of these artifacts that they found on Krypton, it actually says Omega Champion. So there is a tournament that at some point happened on Krypton in the long ago. And it appears that another contest is happening here on Earth. They're like these crazy Omega parademons that actually almost take out Mr. Terrific through the Justice League issue in some really cool sequences. So the heroes have gathered, and they determined that they're that this is the best way to fight Darkseid. The Time Trapper has provided that Darkseid has already won. He's already won, so he's turned time back a little bit, and nobody has recollections of this. And they make some kind of nice meta notations to the New 52 about how nobody remembers this, but it was active at one point. It's kind of, it's meta, it's cool, it's fine. And of all the people that are, involved in the planning of this, Superman has the biggest problem with this. Not just because of the possibilities of people losing, but very often Superman holds back, and he doesn't know, if he doesn't have to hold back, how successful he will be in that. There's very few times in his life, Doomsday really was probably the only major circumstance where he couldn't hold back with how much power he has. And the Time Trapper and the other people who have been, who are harnessing some of this Darkseid energy and, have some insight into this, indicate that there are going to be 32 fighters in this situation, and they have to get through basically like a wall of fire on guitars to get to the next level, and it reads very much like a video game, and that's got to be very deliberate. There are a couple of bait and switches. Initially, the plan is to have the T-spheres surround some of the major villains so that they can never be part of this. Something gets fucked up, and all of a sudden there's Joker, and there's Lex Luthor, and there's Giganta, and some of them make it through. The one thing that's driving me crazy is a little tiny Starro, and I wonder if it's Jarro, and who like went bad. So that'll break my heart if that's what happens there. And there's even a real nice bait and switch, because Steve, if you can just go through some of these images, I can plug you in. So this is Superman. That there are times where when he didn't have to fight fair, and he has these kind of gauntlets that have these mini suns in them, and you know how solar energy powers him. So that's a cool page. Steve, if you can go to the next one. This is Lois, Diana, and Bruce and Clark playing a game about the Trinity. And Clark doesn't like playing games. So there's some nice moments there, and about, why is every incentive a bad incentive? It's kind of cute. And then if you can go to the next one, Steve, and this was just absolutely stunning art in that DC style. And forgive me, I thought I had a squib here with the creators in hand, but the artist is Javi Fernandez, with some interludes by Zermanico. So, big widescreen art here, and this is detailing how Darkseid actually has already won. And then, Steve, if you can go to the next image, you see the villains, as I was saying here. King Shark was somebody I forgot about. Cheetah was somebody I forgot about that get through. And then if you can go to the next one, this actually isn't an image from the comic, but it details the 32 contestants in the DC K.O. There's a bait and switch here. One of the major characters comes off is basically not in contention very early on, and it was a big surprise, and you'll just have to read the comic to find which one of these 32 actually is not one of the contestants. And we end the issue, the champions are known, and then it turns out that through some machinations that we're not exactly sure how it happened yet, one of these 32 people is Darkseid in disguise. And just in terms of big, dumb comic booky stuff, you're going to get some cool fights, and it's going to be heroes fighting heroes. Just given the math here, that has to be that way. If we have like some cool, like, Aquaman versus Hawkman fights, this is big, dumb fun.
Well, it's kind of like the
big dumb.
The game from a few years ago, where it was the fighting game. It was like a Street Fighter type of fighting game.
Injustice.
Injustice, yeah. Like there was a storyline that went with it, but it was, that was a lot of fun, and it was just that same thing. It was some heroes fighting heroes. You could see what they do. I had a great time with that. Bill, forgive me if you said this and I missed it. Is Orion one of the characters?
No.
Okay.
No.
The reason I was
Barda is, if you can see her there, Barda is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be interesting, though, that there are other new gods in there. Because I did not know this, and this is just my ignorance of the fourth world and stuff like that. I did not realize that Orion is always basically camouflaged. Like Orion's natural look apparently is similar.
It's grotesque.
Yeah, he's not a pretty person, and so
he's similar to Darkseid. He looks like him.
And it's Mother Box that disguises him.
So I'd never really thought about that, but I remember figuring that out reading some of the newer New God stuff that Ram V is writing, and I was just like, I wonder why they've never explored like that exists. Why Darkseid's never done that as kind of an infiltration thing, and apparently somebody else had that idea too, because that's awesome.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it kind of harkens back to Final Crisis a little bit, because Darkseid was he was camouflaged in a way by having his energies
Well,
in different
he took
people.
over Ben Turpin's body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And this is along the same lines. I've neglected to say that this is written by Scott Snyder.
mhm.
And I neglected to say that the Omega Champion is the one that can defeat Darkseid. So if Darkseid becomes the Omega Champion, we're really fucked.
Yeah.
So,
So we have a couple comments here from Air Rix Reloaded. And, specifically for this, he said Mortal Kombat Krypton Edition.
yeah.
Which, I mean, that's kind of what Injustice is. Injustice was built on the Mortal Kombat engine, and if you ever have a chance to play that or Injustice 2, they're a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But also, Bill, sort of going back to when we were talking about Jersey and the conventions up there, he did mention, I need to get back up to Jersey sometime soon. This sounds like a great idea just to give artists a chance to show off their skills in talking about the Vertigo book titles, just to give them an option there. But so pretty cool.
All right, cool. So that's DC K.O. I think it's the 6th issue.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody know how many issues it is?
I want to say it's 6 issues, but there's also
Maybe
a couple
it's on my bag.
tie-ins.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton of tie-ins. Yeah.
But not everything. Not every single series
every
is tying in. There's not going to be a billion crossovers that you have to read. So
the one thing that surprised me was the timing of this, because to me this feels like a summer event, and I wonder if there was, if they wanted to let the Absolute Universe, coalesce for at least a year before they got to this. I'm certain the Absolute Universe is going to factor in because of some of this may lead to the big crossover.
Yeah.
And also it's worth mentioning in Aquaman #9, he returns to DC Prime Earth.
Right.
After that, which is like an unofficial crossover, I would say. There's enough connective tissue to where I think a banner would have been fine as a crossover. But I'm looking forward to it. I know, we're not talking The Dark Knight Returns, here. This is not going to be a situation where this is going to be a seminal work, and it's not conceived that way. But in terms of comic booky dumb fun, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it fun? Is it going to be an interesting read? Is it going to entertain me? That's ultimately, I mean, and that's what the Absolute titles have done so far. They've done amazing stuff with it. I think DC is on to something as far as just like a creative path forward to write these books and tell these types of stories, and to not really, to do that thing where they're both laced into continuity because there's 80 years of these characters, and why would you not play with that, but not be shackled by it, and just be inventive and, look to, they're looking to artists that are doing weird and quirky things and kind of getting away from the house style and just letting these folks just flex their muscles and have fun with it. And I think that you can see that in the work itself. And it is in, and I'm a Marvel kid, right? And I look at what Marvel's doing right now, and I'm just like, why are you doing that? Stop doing what you're doing. A few years ago, they were on the right path with a whole lot of stuff. And then something happened, and now they're not. And you can see what DC is doing, where they're just like, you know what? We know exactly what we are. Why don't we lean into it and just be weird and quirky and fun, and tell a lot of the type of stories that can really only be done in comics, right? Like you look at Absolute Martian Manhunter, that they may adapt something like that someday, but as far as what it is, that can only be told in comics, right? Like there's just something amazing about that. And it's a celebration of the medium, and I think that's really great that that DC is doing that, because it makes.
I think with Marvel, it seems that when they've had events, they're very much the X office, the Avengers office.
Yeah,
and there doesn't seem like I'm trying to think of like the last crossover they had that really was encompassing, and I don't know what it was. honestly. They feel very regimented. They feel very segregated. And, something like that might actually benefit Marvel to remind people, hey, this is all the same universe.
Well, and so I think I'm trying to remember, I think it was Scotty Young. I was listening to an interview with Scotty Young or talking to him, and it reminded me back when it may have been somebody else. It may not have been Scotty, and forgive me if I'm talking about the wrong person, but essentially what they were saying is, they went to these DC retreats. No, it was Jeff Lemire. That's who it was. It was in his memoir that he wrote. He talks about going to the DC retreats, and it's like, yeah, they were it was fun. It was laid back, and they were letting these artists be exploratory when they were crafting these kind of events and stuff like that. And then he went over to Marvel, and he said, other than a few people, it was very like it was a pissing contest. Like it was this like dog eat dog, like everybody's marking their territory and trying to just squash. And he said it was not freeing. It did not allow the creative juices to flow, and he absolutely hated it. And looking back over the past, the big Marvel stuff over the past couple of years, sure seems like that. Like
that's very territorial.
Very, a lot of sense.
Yeah, you need this particular architect, and it's this the siloed kind of situation.
Yeah, I just did a very quick look at Marvel crossover events, and it seems to me that Civil War II probably was the last one.
It was line wide,
like a line wide crossover because Empire was contained. Naturally, like IVX, Inhumans versus X-Men, the gang war. I mean, a lot of these seem very much within a bubble. Like I said, I think I think Marvel could actually benefit right now from a shakeup like that.
Yeah.
Well,
speaking of Marvel, I have a Marvel to talk about.
It's your baby.
And I'm gonna say that like my feelings are very similar to Jeff Lemire's in how my favorite corner of the Marvel universe has been kind of handled very recently, and that is the X-Men. And let me go ahead and share. This is one book that is tying into the X-Men Revelation crossover / reboot / replacement that's going on. But it also is kind of its own thing. But of course, it's going to dovetail in to the full shakeup that they're doing on the X-Men side. And, it just seems like the shakeups are coming pretty fast and furious. I don't think things are given more than like a year and some change at this point before they just take all the ants in the sandbox and just shake it. And then like, here you go. It's a brand new thing. And what's interesting about this tie-in is that it's probably a bit more nostalgic for people. It's a way for Jeff Loeb, who's the writer on here, to kind of play what if a little bit, but then also have them sort of come into the main continuity as it exists. And that is X-Men of Apocalypse Alpha #1. And basically what this does is it picks up right after the events of the Age of Apocalypse and features the X-Men team that was there, where it's Magneto pretty much holding down the the side of the good mutants, with Rogue as his wife. You've got Gambit. You've got a reformed Sabretooth who also uses Wild Child as sort of his partner. You've got Morph in this, which is always fun, except in this case, Morph is playing more like a Plastic Man than anything else. And I think that's just because Jeff just needs somebody's comic relief in a very heavy book. And you also have Blink returning here, and Blink being, a pretty pivotal character that came out of the mid 90s and just, has been popping up here and there in a lot of the interdimensional and, multi-Earth books over the past several years. And here she is again, of course, it's an alternate Earth, alternate timeline. But she, of course, maintains her pivotal role in being able to teleport the X-Men team across these timelines, across these dimensions. And of course, Forge kind of rounds out that group as well with Gambit. So in this issue, like I said, it picks right up off of the events that ended the Age of Apocalypse, the giant nuclear holocaust that essentially was supposed to reset time and reset everything, which it did back in the 90s, but apparently it kept going in this reality and kept ticking forward. So Mr. Sinister is now basically in the old palace of Apocalypse. Apocalypse is gone. He's been killed. And he kidnaps Forge because he's got an idea. He's got something he needs to do. And Magneto and crew, they find out about this not until after they've basically been fighting around in the city and are accosted by Havoc, who is on the side of Mr. Sinister and Sinister's team. And he is then quickly killed after a quick fight with Rogue by Gambit. Gambit murders Havoc, and they need to skedaddle before Cyclops shows up because he wouldn't be happy to see his brother dead. And it's really interesting because there is a lot of interpersonal relationship business happening here. Remy is still deeply in love with Rogue, and Rogue herself is like, I kind of still have feelings for this guy, but I'm married to Magneto, and he's my hero, so we can't really explore that. But they're playing around with this. I think Jeff is having a fun time, kind of, again, playing what if and playing sort of devil's advocate with these characters and saying, well, their story was supposed to end, but I'm keeping it going. We're going to see where it can go from here. Given all of the trauma and tragic circumstances of that crossover event of the X-Men of the mid 90s, what happened with that, I can play with it further because that was supposed to be over and done with. And now, sky's the limit on what I can do with them. Well, they find out from Morph that Forge has been kidnapped by Mr. Sinister. They go and rescue him. Sinister says, you know what, truce. I have some really interesting news. Turns out we're all supposed to be dead. Yeah, turns out we were supposed to, this timeline is supposed to be done with, but it's not. So maybe we need to change that. Maybe we need to figure out what we need to do to bring reality back to where it should be. And it sounds good to everybody else. They're like, yeah, we shouldn't be suffering in this timeline. Like, we should be gone. We should be, enjoying life in the good old Charles Xavier timeline, which of course, that I think has been rebooted about 8 times anyway by this point. So, not that they know about that, but they might, because by the end of this issue, they have been teleported into a different timeline. Potentially it's the current one, which is now 10 years in the future, as part of the X-Men Revelations storyline. But who do they encounter but X-Man himself? So you got to figure out what's going to happen with them. Are they going to have a big old knockout, drag out fight? Because for them, they need to figure out how to reboot their own timeline. And in doing so, it might end up destroying others. And I'm sure that's how it's going to dovetail into Revelations, which in itself is sort of an apocalyptic timeline where Doug Ramsey is kind of the heir to Apocalypse and is, released the X virus that's killed, tons of humans all across the world, or turn them into mutants. So it's crazy. It's wild. I'm not reading any of that because I don't care. So I'm going to take a comic. I'm going to follow a comic that's a little bit outside of that. That's doing something else other than like dealing directly with all of the stuff that's going on with Revelations. Because you've got, I think, about 12 different books that have all started. All the other books, all the other titles are on pause. So Uncanny X-Men, all these are paused right now to be replaced by all these other new minis for the next 3 months or so. And then, of course, when things come back, almost all the titles are going to be rebooted or replaced. There are a few they're going to pick up, right out of the right after the last episode or the last issue. But again, this is going to change everything, and everything's going to be different after what happens in Revelations. I just can't be bothered.
They said at the X-Men panel that I was at, they kind of mocked that a little bit about like everything was changed. They did say one character though is going to be changed forever, and I did believe it.
This changes everything. Big blurb, exclamation points on the cover of every single issue of X-Men ever. So yeah, this book I enjoyed because I don't really have to know anything that's going on currently. I can go back 20 years and it picks right up off of that. So I'm like, okay, great. And I'm going to enjoy it until it dovetails into the new thing, and then oh well. But it's just, it kind of the artwork by Simone DeMeo here is just lovely. Colors are gorgeous. He's basically doing all of the artwork in this, including colors, with letters by Richard Starkings and Tyler Smith from Comicraft. But yeah, I mean, I think the most enjoyment I got out of this is the fact that I don't have to get all of the craziness that's going on now and has been going on for the past 12 months and keep track of that. So maybe I'll come back after it's rebooted again in the new year. I don't know. It's exhausting right now being an X-Men fan, and I kind of feel like Brian did a while ago after all the Hellfire mess and the fall of Krakoa and all of that, where I'm just sort of like, I just don't know what's going on, and at this point I don't care.
Yeah, they make it very easy to walk away, like to be like, no, all right, fine. It's not cohesive, and I'm not understanding or following. So why do I need to?
Well, even the cohesion, I can deal with surreality. I can deal with confusing, but I don't deal well with boring, and I don't deal well with taking readership for granted. And no disrespect to all the creative teams on these books, on Magic and on Storm and X-Men and Uncanny and everything. No disrespect for them, but I don't think right now that the choices that are being made are drawing readers in as much as pushing them away. So we'll see. I mean, they go through these changes, these metamorphoses, and problems where they just explode, implode, change tact, and reboot themselves constantly. So hopefully the next iteration will be more to my liking. But they're not writing for me; they're writing for who knows.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, who are they writing for at this point? I don't know, because I think they're writing for the editor. I think the editor is on. Some editors has an idea, and they're
Tom, Mr. Brevoort.
Yeah, something I don't get it. But
that surprises me because Brevoort, out of many of the editors, was the most focused on keeping the line integrated with the bigger universe. So I don't know if some of this is stuff he inherited, but it just seems like I'm with you. I don't know who the audience is for this. I don't know who they're writing for. I'm with you there. It doesn't seem to be a core X-Men universe that they're writing for, bringing in new fans. Nothing of this is going to bring in anybody new.
No,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, again, we don't really do negative stuff on this show too often, some exceptions. But, I think this is one area where the criticism is very valid. If all three of us are feeling it.
Yeah. And again, no disrespect to the creative teams. I think they're doing a good enough job for what they can do and what parameters they're being given. But I just don't feel the cohesion, and I don't feel the excitement really. And we do have some comments here. We've just been joined by Felipe here. If it's going to show me, here we go. There it is. Oh, yes. Okay, here we go. It's exhausting being an X-Men fan right now, brother. Don't I know it? And then also they've got a line editor, Brevoort, who doesn't like the X-Men. How could that ever work? Absolutely. And finally, sing it, Caleb. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree so much. It's not fun. But
I'm
I'm
just gonna
enjoying this,
interject.
so
I
pick
don't.
this up.
I
Support this
From
one.
being at the panel, I didn't get the sensation that Brevoort doesn't like the X-Men. But it may be a situation where he doesn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the spirit of not being negative, as far as we're talking about Marvel line wide, I do want to throw out there, like, it's not that they are doing everything wrong all across the board. Interestingly enough, from what I've understood, and I'm not reading these titles, but I'm friends with a lot of people who are. Amazing Spider-Man is great right now, from what I'm hearing. Fantastic Four is wonderful right now. People are loving it right now. The Hulk is very good. I'm reading that, and then the Avengers is a good title right now too. So, there are books to enjoy. But I think
That's interesting that I hear about that with the Avengers, given it's the same writer that kind of drove me off it.
well,
Yeah.
I've been liking this. I don't think it's as good as it could be,
Okay.
but I think it's halfway decent. I've stayed on it, and I could have dropped it.
That's good.
But I think it's
Yeah.
important. Like, for me, it was like, okay, the flagships are doing well right now as far as quality goes. So if you're looking for
Yes.
good, fun Marvel, you might check out Amazing Spider-Man and Fantastic Four if those are in your wheelhouse. Because I think the people that I've spoken to who are very critical of those titles from time to time have said, "Hey, no, these are firing on all cylinders."
They're in a good place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is nice to hear.
I like Zdarsky's Captain America.
Yep.
I'm liking that so
I
far.
liked his Daredevil.
Yeah.
They made some choices with it that took me away from, like, an art wise, but from the story was good. Zdarsky's
And
turned into a good writer. Like, I was kind of one of those people who did not like Zdarsky at the very beginning.
I liked him right from the start.
But
I don't think he's like ideal for every property.
yeah,
But I liked him from the start.
yeah, I was one of those who wasn't.
If it was up to me, Peter Parker Spider-Man would still be going. If I ruled the universe. I mean, that issue where J. Jonah Jameson makes the lasagna and it's just him and Peter talking. That could be a mini series and I'd be happy. That could be a 12-issue arc and I'd be so happy. Yeah.
Wow. Well, hey, speaking of books that we really liked, Caleb, you had a good title that you were wanting to share with us.
Yeah, dude. So I'm going to take us to the. I mean, we're covering the big three tonight, right? I'm taking us over to Image Comics and Skybound. So David Lapham has a new book. Oh, I should say David and Maria Lapham have a new story, a new book out right now. If you're not familiar with David Lapham, an amazing comic writer, has got some amazing stories like Stray Bullets. My favorite thing he's ever written is actually it's a werewolf story. It's Ferals, that was published by Avatar Press. I love that book. So a big fan of David Lapham, and I love that him and Maria Lapham are working together. And their new title is called Good as Dead. And much in the vein of what David Lapham is known for, and it's a crime story, right? There's a lot going on here, and this is colored by D. Cuniff. It's got edited by Nashi Marsham. One of the things I found interesting when I was looking at the title page, it says creators are Chris Black and David Alpert. Now, I would love to, the behind the scenes nerd in me wants to know what that means. Did somebody? I assume that they created this story, they pitched it, and David's like, yeah, I can script that and draw it. But I would love to know kind of what that relationship is like and how that came to be, because there's maybe some behind the scenes stuff there that I think would be interesting. But long story short, this is a pretty interesting tale, especially right now in where we're at, kind of in the real world in the United States. The story kind of takes place on the Canadian-American border, and it's a place called Port Linden. And I don't know if they're, in upstate New York or if they're in Maine or kind of where they're at, but they're definitely somewhere in the Northeast. And it takes place in this town, and Port Linden is kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? And it's for a long time, it was literally nothing. And then like 100 years ago, a guy who was running moonshine and whiskey during, I guess, the Prohibition era, built a bridge so he could accomplish his, behind the scene goals. And it brought commerce to the town, and it helped him and his family build an empire. As it was helping him and he was kind of, I mean, he was not the best of guys, right? Like, I mean, the fact that he was running moonshine is not when I say that. Rock and roll run moonshine. That's how NASCAR got created, whatever. But do what you want to do. But in this case, it was, he also took some people off the board, so to speak. Like, he was a little bit of a knucklehead, and his family has been a little bit of a knucklehead. And in doing that, what's kind of happened here is a little bit of the Hatfield and McCoys. There's another family who is not on board with the history there and kind of the mafioso style. And one of these people that kind of has taken the brunt of this is the main figure in the title here, but it's the sheriff of the town. And he doesn't trust a lot of people. I mean, not only because he's a sheriff, but because of the history of the town. The good old boy factor has had an impact on his family. And so he's a little bit uneasy. And as this all kind of comes to head in the modern era, because they're at a point now where this bridge that has kind of controlled the luck and the history and the livelihoods of people, and it's kind of separated the haves from the have-nots. Something's about to change. They're about to open up a brand new bridge that's going to take all of that industry and all of that ownership and that kind of position away from this family who I guess I should say their name. They're the Vlads or the Vlades or something, whereas the sheriff is a Calhoun. So it's going to move that. And the Vlades are not taking this lying down. Like, they're very upset by this. And so he's prepared. The sheriff is. He's prepared for something that happens, and he's keeping his eye out on something. All of a sudden, on the old bridge or around the old bridge, the night before the new bridge is supposed to open, a man named Dr. Yao. He's a anthropologist. He works at a not an anthropologist. He works at I guess he's an astrophysicist or something. That's kind of what he does. He rolls up on this bridge, and if you're looking at the images, you'll notice that, there's a stack of books or ledgers or something in his front seat. Well, all of a sudden he pulls out a can of gas, douses himself in the car, and he self-immolates. Makes big news, right? Not something that they're expecting to hear, and they don't know why. So the sheriff is called in to investigate this. And of course, off the bat, he's like, okay, the Vlades have got something to do with this. They're trying to stop the new bridge from opening. There's something going on here. And of course, the, Miss Vlade, who is kind of the, she hasn't presented herself in the first issue as actually being the bad guy, but she's definitely a foil to the sheriff, right? She comes, meets him head on. Is like, I didn't have anything to do with this. You threaten me and I'll wipe the floor with you. She's just not having it. And they're going to go into this back and forth, to figure out what's going on. The next day comes, and, they start their investigation. Well, while they're starting off their investigation, they're going to speak to people, including the doctor's, the late doctor's wife. They're having the ribbon cutting ceremony at the new bridge, and catastrophe happens. Something bad, something goes terribly, and there's an explosion, and the bridge is blown up. And of course, this is playing out really well for, at least how it seems, for the Vlades. And how they want to run things, at least to keep their position in the structure of this world. Did they do it? Did they not do it? I don't know. We'll have to find out and see where the Laphams go with the story, because one of the cool things about David Lapham is the brilliance, and I do mean, I mean that. I think David Lapham is brilliant in the way that he understands this medium, understands this visual storytelling, because he's not just telling a straightforward story, right? And he's not just giving you all of the story in narration. If you're looking at the images he's drawing, he is giving you so much of, like, the subtle context of the behind the scenes of this to let you know that there are some really nefarious characters in this story. As he's showing you these images, you're seeing, kind of this man walking around We don't know who he is. He's not speaking to anybody, but he's got the dark sunglasses and he just kind of is everywhere and seems to be just off kilter enough to catch your attention. So we know that he's doing something, and he's involved some way. We don't know where this is going to be. We also know that in the midst of trying to figure out this investigation with Dr. Yao, that we see the sheriff walking amongst the people and he's being given all this food, and somewhere along the lines he gets poisoned and he doesn't know how. We see the context in his family. The sheriff has a sister who is living off the grid, major PTSD. She's booby trapped all around her cabin. And you don't fully understand who or what she is, but he gives you enough context in the images to know that this person is not well mentally, but is also, it's kind of that deal. Are you insane, or do you actually, it's the Malkavians from Vampires, right? Or are you actually insane, or you really see how the world works? And that's why you are the way you are. She's a little bit of both. And she is, she's putting some things together that he's not ready to accept yet about maybe how their father, who was murdered, plays into this and some of the history there. One of the cool things about comics that good writers and artists can do is they can tell stories on two different levels, right? They can give you the narration, and then behind the scenes they give you a picture. And we see a lot of this in comics, right? Like the images being shown do not necessarily cook up with what the narration is saying. David Lapham is telling you a story on about 4 or 5 different levels. Like, he's giving you subtext, he's giving you context, he's giving you dialogue, he's giving narration that doesn't necessarily mix with the dialogue, that's doing something incredibly different. He's giving you flashbacks and stories, and he's giving you foreshadowing that you have to actually pay attention to the images. See, he doesn't, to borrow the phrase from our buddy Jason Wood that he uses sometimes, Lapham doesn't suffer fools. In the way that he tells a story. He demands that you pay attention. He demands that you read closely to what's going on to really get the full scope. Now, that's not necessarily saying that he's writing some type of deep psychological magnum opus. He's not writing Mouse or anything like that. This is just a crime story, but it's a damn good one with a whole lot of layers mixed in, and some just absolutely spectacular art. I love his inks. I love the way that he draws these figures. I love the way that he draws in a way that you're looking at it where it's almost, you're looking at it and you're like, if he had done 1 or 2 things different, you would say this artist really doesn't understand depth, because it can seem very 2-dimensional, but he does just the right things with his lines where you're like, no, this dude, like you can dive deep into this thing, but he's not being photorealistic, right? Like he's doing work. It's not visually comparative to what what we would see in the Hernandez brothers, but his line has kind of got this weird thickness quality to it, or this variation in thickness that like Jamie or Jaime Hernandez has in it, that I think has some really cool stuff to it, that gives it this texture, that gives it this depth that's, like I said, it's just off of center to where you're like, okay, that is neat. Like that is funny how he's doing that. Some of that I think also is credit to D. Cunniffe and the colors to this too. But I can't wait to read the second issue. There is so much happening in this book, and so many threads that he's cast out, or lines that he's cast out, threads that he's left for us to follow to figure out. I don't know what's going on. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know who's on the side of the angels, who's on the side of the devils. All you know is that there is a really fun story being told, and there are a couple of different roads that you can go down, and I can't wait to see where they're going.
See, and I never read Stray Bullets, but it does sound like he's, he and Maria together as co-creators of that. It sounds like they really know how to craft a good crime comic. And it's not easy. It's not easy to keep a crime comic like interesting, that you want to keep going back and reading more as it unfolds, but to be able to kind of take that and be able to do that multiple times in different with different stories, different comics, it's pretty cool. It's good to know.
Well, I don't have the subject matter expertise to say this with any any gusto, but as I'm reading this, like it seems to me like there's some type of like David Lynchian element to it. Like it reminds me of this is where I'm not a subject matter expert. I can't even think of the name of the damn TV show. It's on the tip of my
Twin
tongue.
Peaks.
Twin Peaks. Like there's a lot of Twin
Yeah.
Peaks-esque things happening here. And so I would love somebody who is more of a David Lynchian kind of expert to read this and see if they felt the same way, to tell me if I'm on to something there, if they're getting that vibe. Because to me, there's some Lynchian things happening here. And I think that's neat.
Yeah, I'm speaking as somebody who did read the first 4 volumes of Stray Bullets, which I did enjoy, but you kind of hit on why I got turned off. Is it's an effort.
It is.
To read his stuff. It's not, you can't be a passive reader. And that, in terms of his art, I enjoy that he adapts so readily to whatever the topic is at hand. I mean, he first made his name as the artist for Harbinger, way back in the 90s, and you're not getting that here.
No, at all.
That he does adapt this stuff.
He's leaned
But I think
more
you hit
into
on it, Caleb. It's an effort to read his stuff, because I'd almost feel, at least after the first volume, I had to reread 2 through 4 at least once to get all of the nuances there. I think the last work of his I read was the Spectre stories and Tales of the Unexpected.
Yeah.
Long ago. That was the last time I really read his stuff. I did like the first issue of Young Liars, and I think that ended up being like 3 volumes or so through Vertigo. But I don't know. It always came across to me as just too much effort.
Yeah.
And there is payoff. I'm not saying that there isn't, but I already have enough, on my plate of writers that are like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it depends on the context of, like you said, where you are where you are at in life, where you want to read these kind of things. I'm at a spot right now to where I'm reading a lot of memoir. I'm reading a lot of literary fiction in novel form, of fictional realism, things like that. So books that a lot of material that you do have to dive deep on. But there are times where I want popcorn. I want to decompress, shut my brain off. I want bang, thwip, pow, punching, or something easy to follow. And that's not when I want Stray Bullets, or that's not when I want these types of.
But it's also interesting because on the surface you might think his stuff is that way.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting, and that's something that's a compliment I'll pay him across the board. With some of his works, particularly Stray Bullets.
Yeah.
As that got going, it was, and I also loved that. What time period is this set in? Because he's very good at different time periods.
So this feels modern. Like there's definitely people with cell phones, but I mean, so it's hard to. I don't know if they say present day anywhere in the front. Let me flip through here and look at it. It says it's in October.
Something to say about that with my work.
It says October. It doesn't give a year.
Okay.
And this is a rural area, though. This is a place where, people are smoking cigarettes inside the convenience store. So that could be the early 90s or the late 80s. It could be today in the middle of nowhere.
Yep. Okay. Okay. All right. And I think you have another Image book.
I do. You want me to go back to that?
Yeah, you got the mic. Keep
sure.
it.
I will. So I guess I'm doing I don't know. I feel very imagey these days. The other book that I have, I'm so they're both Image, but they both have a very indie vibe. I think David Lapham's name is a lot more well known than the names of either creator that I'm going to talk about. But there is a book that's coming out from Image right now. It's written by Chris Condon with amazing art by a gentleman named Jeffrey Allen Love, who I've become a very big fan of. And the book is called News from the Fallout. And this book, the interiors, this is one of the things I love about this book, and I knew I was going to like it from the get-go, is because the interiors are exactly what you see on the cover. It is all this really cool, almost screen print style, black gray wash kind of, highly textured thing all throughout the story. There's not color in it. There are no hard lines. Everything is drawn like this in different shades of gray. And the book, this starts out let's see, I think I'm trying to remember if it's like 43 or 44. It's around the same, just after like the Manhattan Project. It would have kicked off, because this is taking place in Atomic Alley, right? Like, this is taking place where they're doing the nuclear experiments, and they don't ever name the Manhattan Project in here. But what's happening is they're in the middle of nowhere, and they're talking about the war. They don't ever happen to name it, but there is a general who is in charge of this atomic testing in the middle of nowhere. And they have decided, hey, we need to move where we're going to set this bomb off, and we need to move it up. Except they don't move these soldiers back. But they have this general there who's like, hey, nope, you're going to go right where I tell you to go. This bomb's going to go off. You get out there, you do what I tell you to do. And that's one private's like, well, you guys made this closer. Shouldn't we get like back over? And he's like, nope, you're going to stay put. He's like, I don't like this plan. I'm going to keep my little mask on, if nothing else. All the rest of the units like, okay, we do what we told. We'll sit down, we'll put our helmets on. We don't have masks on or anything. The bomb goes off. They're in their bunker. They get up, they kind of look around. They're alive. Ash is falling on them. They describe in the book that the ash has like a red clay color, but you don't see that because, again, the book is all in black and gray. But all of a sudden, these soldiers start coughing and they start to choke, and it's burnt. They talk about burning their throat. And within minutes, they turn into, the closest thing I can comparator I can make is zombies, but they're not zombies. They just turn into these kind of really angry, ravaging, murderous creatures, and they start trying to tear everything and everyone apart. Well, our boy or our main character, who turns out, who's in the gas mask, he's watching all this. He's like, nah, I'm good. Like, I got to go. Like, I'm out on this one. And he takes off running, and just goes out into the deserts, trying to get as far away from these folks as possible, because they're going to murder him. And this is in a military installation, right? And everywhere around this is used to the military installation. Most of the folks who live out in the middle of nowhere with it are prior military folks who, some of them are disgruntled. They are living next to a site that they know is testing bombs, that people won't tell them what's going on. They're used to weird stuff happening. So as he, as he kind of escapes this kind of main focal point of the explosion, and what's inevitably going to be an outbreak, he takes off running, and he ends up at a diner where there are, country diner folk, and he runs in, and these two zombie soldiers are chasing him, and he drops them because he's got his pistol. And all they saw is, hey, this dude in a gas mask just showed up. Some soldiers were chasing him, and he murdered them in the parking lot. And so they're not inclined to trust him. He's just like, hey, we need to board up these windows. And they're like, why? Like, you just murdered two people in the parking lot, dude. Like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm a soldier. They're like, we realize that you just murdered two people, Mr. Soldier, who are also soldiers. Why should we trust you? He's like, I don't know what's going on. They were testing bombs. Something bad happened. There are people and things coming, and they are dangerous. One of the guys who is sitting in the diner, former Marine himself, is just not being told what's going on. He's the type of dude who sits at the bar and drinks and hates his wife back at home, but don't you dare insult her, or, you'll have issues. And, he's just an old grizzled man's man. Well, he's not having it, and he bucks back up, and all of a sudden you hear a voice from the outside, and it's this gentleman's wife coming to figure out why he's not home yet, to just ring him. And she runs smack dab into these soldiers. And you see one of them explode-ish and just surround her with ash and dust. And then next thing you know, she's infected too. And that's so this is something is spreading. So it's like a zombie story, except it's not a zombie story. It's more like the Crazies, maybe. That might be a better analogy. But it's told through the aspect of atomic testing, and then you get You get Jeffrey Clark's just amazing, or Jeffrey Allen Love, sorry. You get his amazing art in this, which is just strong blacks and grays. He plays with light really well. If you look at the image that Steve's showing you right now, you see kind of these like cartoon-esque outlines, but you see like the weird gnarled claws on them and how dangerous they are. The pacing of the story and the tone of the story reminds me a lot of 30 Days of Night, of the original 30 Days of Night. Like it is a fun horror book. It plays with like I said, the pacing and the layout of the story is done that it keeps you on the edge of your seat. The suspense is strong. You're rooting for these folks, for this one guy. You don't really know what's going on. The 5th issue is, I think, comes out this week. So there's 4 issues available right now. The story gets deeper. You find out more about these people's histories. One of the cool things about the story is it splits it. It shows you before the explosion and after the explosion in every story to kind of give you a taste of who all these folks are. The general comes back and you see that he's not a mindless raving, just zombie person. He is a evil, conniving, fixing to take over the world and have his dark, crazy soldier empire person. And you start to learn why he did the things that he did and who some of these people are, including some of the town people and their history too. So it gives you a lot of context there to really latch on in a very short period of time, which, shout out to Chris Condren for being able to do that. So go check this out. 'Tis the season for spooky stories. 'Tis the season for horror. This is a very, very good, like, modern horror story that's being told that I think that a lot of our listeners would really enjoy. I personally like it because it is an art style that shows you that you don't have to be a hyper detailed, photo-esque artist to tell really compelling visual stories. This dude plays with shadows and he plays with figures in a way that it is well done, and he knows how to use an image to evoke emotion. And I think that is an incredible talent and a necessary talent to have in good visual storytelling. So, from our friends over at Image Comics, send us money and books, but go check out News from the Fallout by Chris Condon. I think I'm saying his name wrong. Condon and Jeffrey Allen Love. So go check those out and follow.
It's Condon.
Condon. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Follow Jeffrey Allen Love. If you're into the OA game, he's very affordable. So go check his
stuff. And Image Comics, we do appreciate the emails that you do send with the free stuff, with the free images. So, like, don't stop.
Absolutely.
That.
Keep that up.
Don't stop.
That's enjoyable. So
stop that.
We enjoy hardcovers too, if you just love us that much. So
yeah, that would be very nice. Yeah, it would be very nice. It'd be very nice if a particular big 2 publisher would send us the Pride Month stuff.
Yeah,
there's so few of us out there. There's so few queer comic book podcasts out there. Be nice. Be nice.
No, we appreciate it all.
Speaking of, I've been like, I'm now in the place where I'm contemplating my next tattoo. That variant cover that was like of Midnighter and the Apollo, which was very much like a Tom of Finland style variant cover of the motorcycle. Of them, I think I want that as a tattoo. That's hot.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, James.
Yeah,
comps.
Just to be clear, we are on an email recipient from Image where we get sent PDFs of new comics. Yeah. Not all of them. There's some that they restrict, or you can separately request, but we don't get anything physical.
Yeah, and basically anything that I see that I like, I'm buying the physical copy too.
Yeah,
so
just want to make sure
it's good for a preview.
Yeah,
so
and you'll also notice that with some of the print people, that they was a promotional copy was provided. You'll see that with some of the better bloggers, I guess. I guess that's still the way.
But just knowing enough about the behind the scenes stuff of the way that the image program works, where basically the the creators to some degree do have to front load the money. You make the book and you have everything done, and you bring it to them, and they help you publish it, and they take their percentage or whatever. But the creators still have a big chunk of that. I like
Well, it all depends. I mean, sometimes it's almost like a recording contract in there is in advance. You may have a writer who's just not able to pay for an artist.
Sure.
And they do that. It really depends on and then there's some that come, fully formed and shop it around to others. It doesn't seem to be like one particular method that dominates with Image.
What the reason I was saying that though is especially for the ones that they do bring the comic that they've front loaded the money for, they bring that to Image. I like that Image gives comps to people like us, big podcasts, small podcasts, to help get the word out because those folks ride or die on that, and I think that's cool. But I mean, to your point, Bill, if you go to Skybound, which is Kirkman's, the guy who wrote the whole manifesto about not working for people who take your money and yada yada yada, he has the Marvel, like the old school Marvel thing about how he makes his comic. No, it's not creator owned. So he forgot he wrote the manifesto.
Yeah, it's all good. I do. I'll be pretty quick. I'll be quick with this one. So it's definitely something that Bill, you've recommended before, work from this particular creator. Yes, you have. And you might actually recognize her name when I bring it up. It is coming. Dang it. It would have worked if it was instantaneous, but no. It is Ngozi Ukazu's Flip. Now, Ukazu is also the creator of Check Please, which I know you love.
Yes. Very cool.
Yeah, and this is her again working with sort of a YA focus, and it's a book called Flip. And Flip is about these high school kids who are at a private academy. Focuses mainly on Chi-Chi. She's a first generation American. Her parents are from Nigeria. They work really hard, and she's on scholarship at this really wealthy academy in Texas. And she has a bit of a crush on Flip Henderson, Ray Henderson. And at the beginning of the book, she attempts to give a promposal to invite him to the senior celebration. And unfortunately, it goes horribly wrong and crashes in spectacular, embarrassing, cringe fashion for her. And she's so hurt by Flip's reaction, which is more, it's almost like, it's not meant to be cruel, but it's sort of like, I wouldn't go with you because I don't really know who you are. I don't think about you. And so she, runs off very, horrified and embarrassed, and makes a wish. And what then transpires is a Freaky Friday situation. So she and Flip bodies. She reveals this to her two friends, Yesenia and Esther. So they're, involved in this whole thing. Flip himself, of course, who's now inhabiting Chi-Chi's body, is getting used to the fact that, now he's in the body of a woman. He's in the body of a black girl. And he is, of course, a, rich white dude. And so there's a lot of ideas of race and privilege, class divide, because Flip is from a very wealthy family, but they themselves are going through a major issue where his father's been arrested for a major financial scandal. And his mother is just drowning her depression in pills. And he himself is extremely depressed, but doesn't realize it because he isn't present for himself. And at the same time, Chi-Chi is understanding, or coming to understand, that her feelings about herself are extremely negative, and she starts to learn how to see herself through someone else's eyes, literally, through Flip's or Ray's eyes. And the techniques that Ngozi uses here, to Ukazu, to show when they flip, is changing the eyes. So Chi-Chi's eyes are brown, Flip's are blue, and every time that they switch bodies, because it becomes a switching back situation that they can't control. So sometimes they're switched, sometimes they're back in their own bodies, and then they switch again. And it becomes sort of a point of conflict between them because, the decisions that one of them makes in the body of the other, of course, affect, what's going on in their own lives. And Flip does eventually reveal to his one friend, Oliver, who of course takes his right. He's like, yeah, cool. Okay, I get it. But it is such a well told story, and there's some really strong emotional moments in here that I did tear up on. Ukazu says in the afterword that this is a very autobiographical story. Obviously, the fantasy element's not real, but just the feeling of being a person of color in a wealthy school where she's there on scholarship. I mean, that's something that she experienced, and how she experiences herself surrounded by rich white people, where here she is, first generation, African immigrant. There's a very different relationship that she has with not only herself and her own body and her own, perspective, but experiencing that perspective through others, looking at her when she is very much the other. And so it's a really great story about what happens when you do have the ability to see through somebody else's eyes. And it's wonderful. I just love this so much. And it is a one and done story, so it is just one volume, put out by First Second. Her art style is great. It's fun. It's cartoony, and just really accessible. And I absolutely, I just devoured this book, just breezed through it because it was so good. So,
Reminds me a little bit of Giant Days as far as the style goes.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she does have. I mean, she's been doing art, actually, professionally publishing. I think she's been publishing in the New Yorker since 2020, but she's had several very successful Kickstarters and webcomics where Check Please started. But she's also done. I want to say it's Bunt. Yes, Bunt, which is another YA novel about a girl who decides to get into college by playing softball, and become really good at softball. And it's just it's fun. She definitely writes towards a younger audience, but absolutely as an older reader, I 100% was all in on it. And
yeah, I mean, Check Please was very much like that as well.
Yeah.
I totally forgot.
Yeah, but I just Ngozi Ukazu, like, look up her stuff.
And also there is a second volume of Check Please.
Yes. There's two of Check Please, and then Flip, of course, is one volume. But in a way, I'm kind of the story does finish, so it wraps it up very well. Yeah. But I think that they could easily come back, and I would love to see what comes next for these characters. So definitely recommend it. Flip, put out by First Second, available at finer bookstores and comic stores everywhere.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's nice to hear that I turned you on to an indie writer, an artist. It's like, it's so rare for me these days. Yeah.
Yeah. I was so excited to, to get this. And she was actually at the local book festival. And unfortunately, I did not get to get her to sign this copy, but I was, very happy to pick it up while I was there.
All right. Well, I'm going to switch to a name that's very familiar to our regular viewers and listeners. And we, all three of us, do a lot of Kickstarters, and especially when it's somebody we have a relationship with, we jump in on that campaign. And I'm not sure if you got your copy, Steve, but I got my copy of Shaken and Stirred, Volume 1, The Man Who Sold the World, written by Steve Bryant, cover by Steve Bryant here. And the art is by Rob Jones. And I have to give a very big shout out to the colorist of this, Jason Millett, Just some really good work on here. So what is Shaken and Stirred? The Man Who Sold the World. What if James Bond went rogue? And what if it was some of his former Bond girls that grouped together to take him down? That's the elevator pitch. And this was so much fun. I absolutely love this. Steve, I have a few graphics here. So, I've given the elevator pitch. We start in 1989, and the James Bond analog in this case is Simon Abbey, who I believe is with MIS because he uses love and a lot of Britishisms. I'm almost certain. I just didn't necessarily have something to hang the hat on. But now that I think of it, yeah, there's a few other Britishisms there. So he is caught here over the Muckleflugga Lighthouse in Shetland, Scotland. And though I don't have the graphic here to follow, he is rescued by a relatively, I don't want to say a young agent, but who's Agent Boothby. And it later turns out that she, I'm not sure if at the time she was, but we then flash forward to her in the current day as Lady Margaret Boothby. And I think in the next graphic, you see her how she is in present day in middle age. And she's one of the first to get this news that something's amiss with Boothby's activities. And as we go through what would be the first chapter in the book, and it is kind of at breakneck speed. It goes from current day, then back to the past, then current day, and then back to another past. You do have to get used to that style. It eventually moves on to the present day for most of the action throughout the rest of the book, but it is a little jumpy at the beginning. And just know that if this was a movie, you'd be fine with it because there would be different visual cues. But reading it, it was a bit of a challenge at the beginning of keeping stuff track, but you did get used to it very quickly. So Steve, if you can go to the next graphic here, there is a scene where it's action that takes place on a ski slope, and there isn't one action franchise out there that would not be salivating to have this scene on film. It was fantastic. If we keep going with some of the elements here, this is where the group has, for the most part, come together, and as you can see there, it's exotic locales. This takes place everywhere. Again, we begin in Scotland, New York, these beautiful locales all over the world. So, for people who like Bond, Caleb, I thought more for Wendy,
Yeah,
our
I
friend,
think
than
Wendy would love
anybody
this.
else.
Yeah,
It's almost specifically written for Wendy.
and it almost has
It's
like a human
funny.
target feel too.
A little bit. I think I was just so wrapped up in the Bond element to it that I didn't really allow for other influences. Though there are other influences in Steve's back matter material. He does talk about a show that never got off the ground called Final Girls, where it basically was Jamie Lee Curtis gathering Final Girls from other properties, and they form a sort of team. It's sexy. I love that it's these are women just like Bond films. These are women from all different types of cultures, from all different types of races, all different types of ages. As I said here, that one character that I did land some time on, Lady Margaret Boothby, is, she's not a spring chicken, but she certainly is probably the most effective member of this team. We also have an African American agent who is on the cover here, Vanity Blue, who has a very, very personal reason for getting involved in this. They all do, but hers is particularly sad. My favorite of the of the booth of the I guess you would call them the Abbey girls, is Dr. Penny Lane. So, those plays on words like pussy galore, those are, really nice tips of the hat through this. And an ending that was a genuine surprise, such a cool twist at the end about where these characters are going to go in the future. I wish I was doing it a little more justice, but we were up against time here with this. But if you do go to the Kickstarter, I think there still is an opportunity to buy it through there or from SteveBryantArt.com. Shaken and Stirred, Volume 1, The Man Who Sold the World. Pure joy. Absolutely loved it.
I can't wait to get my copy. I haven't got it yet, but definitely I am looking forward to it, as I always do. Every time I get a package from Monsieur Steve Bryant, I'm like very happy. So,
but this was, and it's nice to see that there are characters where their sexuality is a bit fluid. There is a sort of Bond boy in the mix as well, which I always said, if this character existed, ain't no way it was just the women.
Oh yeah, he was banging anything that had a pulse. You hoped had a pulse,
and he really is reprehensible. And to me, that's how the character was originally written. The original, the James Bond in the first like 4 novels or so is a dick. Yeah. I mean, he's really ruthless. And though there's different reasons for why this analog is acting the way he is, it's nice to see that, like, again, tip of the hat. It's nice to see somebody who knows a franchise inside out. Steve has seen every Bond film from here, and it's so much fun. God, I was like, I just want the second volume right now. I really do, especially with the coolest fuck twist at the end, especially with that.
It's so funny that you mentioned the Bond boy thing. I just watched Queer not too long ago, and I was sitting there thinking, because it's Daniel Craig, and I was like, I want gay Bond in South America.
Yeah.
Like he's searching for ayahuasca.
So we're at 11:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I think we have to start wrapping this show up. And when we do start wrapping an episode of the Comic Book Bears podcast up, our first stop on that destination is where we show off our geek gets. Very often Steve doesn't have anything, but looks like this time he does. So why don't you take it away with what you got to show?
Well, first we do have a couple quick comments here. James did make a mention about First Second. First Second publishes Faith Aaron Hicks books, and they are a great publisher. I agree, they are. And we,
one of the best books that we spotlighted here with the author was the Fuhrer and the Tramp. That was First Second. They put out some really good stuff.
They do. I like the variety. I like the diversity of their line. It's great. And then we also have E-Man's World of Geek. Hello, Bears, stopping by to check out the comics. Well, hello. Thank you for checking us out.
Hello.
So I have a couple geek gets here. One is actually something that I got as a birthday present from a buddy of mine. It's kind of hard to see, but it is a Made by Robots brand vinyl toy or vinyl figure. It is appears to be hand knit, but it's not. It's actually made from vinyl plastic and 3D printed, but it is Hannibal Lecter. I thought that was pretty cool. I also like the rubber tag on the end. It's very neat. And then also because, again, I'm a big Kickstarter fan, but also friend of the show, is our good friend Richard Rivera. I did get my copy of Stabity Ever After #1, and I got the super special Stabarine cover, the Stabity Project Part 1, and this cover is done by DLX, of course, after the famous Wolverine cover from Jim Lee.
Yeah,
so
I got a different cover.
Yeah, I think we've all had there are multiple covers here, and this one was one of my favorites, so I had to grab it.
Mine also came.
So that's what I got.
I'm a
Cool.
bad friend and nerd. I don't have a copy of either of those to show off. I am very sorry.
Yeah, that's hey.
Okay. Hey, only so many hours in the day,
Yeah.
so many dollars from the wallet that you can offer to this stuff. But at least with what we've spotlighted, there's still a mechanism to get them.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
It does goes with the Kickstarter. So,
Absolutely.
Caleb, I think you hinted that you didn't have anything.
No, I do. I have.
or
Yeah,
you didn't have something from
I-
the Greece.
yeah. I don't have anything that I picked up from the Greece trip. I was really kind of hoping I would. But there wasn't anything like geek wise that I ran. I mean, I guess it's a geek get. I got a new tattoo. I got a wraps around my arm. It's a Anthony Bourdain quote that says, "Be a traveler, not a tourist." Kind of something
Yeah.
just to model life after, I think. But no, so the geek get that I have is a new album, and it is the album "God Does Like Ugly" from Atlanta hip hop artist extraordinaire JID, who is one of my absolute favorite rappers right now. I think he's amazing, and he's finally getting. He's getting recognized in some pretty big ways. He'll actually be helping to induct Outkast, Big Boy and Andre 3K, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's going to be one of the folks that helps induct them. So getting his, which I'm very proud of, because I've been a fan of this guy for a long time. He blends hip hop and gospel, southern rock, southern music, jazz, a little bit of everything. He's got a very, very good DJ. That just I adore. He works with some really amazing people. There's some awesome collaborative efforts on this. You get folks like West Side Gun doing tracks with him and stuff too. Just a lot of good folks. So if you're into hip hop, you want to hear one of the best albums that came out this year with just super fucking fire tracks. There's not a bad song on this. Go check out God Does Like Ugly. And then, you know what? Watch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and get to listen to Andre 3K get inducted and Big Boy, just Outkast in general. Because, look, I'm from the South. I grew up an hour and a half from Memphis. 3-6 Mafia is one of my favorite groups. But Southern hip hop deserves more accolades than what it gets. Because, yeah, man, it's super hot fire.
Yeah, E-Man's World of Geek actually said he doesn't usually listen to new rap, but he is willing. And JID, got to check him out. Sounds like he may have a Dirty South sound.
Oh, facts, big facts. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he is this is modern Southern hip hop, pure and simple. Just really super fast flow. The guy doesn't stop. He's just on it. Just beats like that. Just goes.
Cool.
I don't know how he breathes. It's amazing.
Okay. I got a lot of stuff to show, so I'm gonna try to get through it really quick.
Just do it like that. Do it like that Chinese shine woman who just like pulls up the thing, yells at it, and throws it back in the box and moves on to the next one.
Yeah.
Just
I just want to make sure, Caleb, that was the only thing you were showing.
That was it,
right?
Nope, that's
okay. Great. Yeah, I didn't want to take that. I'm not doing this from a standpoint of, oh, look at all the stuff I got. It's just I went to a major comic book convention. I went to another city. I got stuff. But I also, in my continuing effort to become the slowest collector of a toy line ever, I did get another Spin Master figure for the Superman film. So here's Metamorpho. At New York Comic Con, as I mentioned, they do have these exclusive variant covers that you can get for free for attending the Marvel panels. So I did go to two of them. Amazing Spider-Man #9, this beautiful pencil sketch cover by J. Scott Campbell. And then tying in with Steve's book, this is a cover, a variant cover for X-Men Age of Revelation Overture #1, which I guess preceded your book.
Yep.
So we got that. I'm still a back issue boy, and I got a gem here. There were 4 issues of The Adventures of Jerry Lewis from DC Comics in the late 60s and early 70s, where Jerry met DC Comics characters. I have 3 of the 4 now, and the third that I got is the Wonder Woman. It
Wow.
doesn't look very spectacular, but this is a very hard book to find. So got that. And then in terms of the Seattle trip, as I said during earlier, I did get was able to make the trip out to the flagship store for Funko. I did not know about this pop at all. This is Roger Thornhill as portrayed by Cary Grant in the Alfred Hitchcock film North by Northwest. This is how much I love Cary Grant. I got a protective thing for it. Like, no, you can't even look at it. No. Oh God, I was literally like doing like the happy clappy thing. I did not know this existed. Maybe it's fairly new. I don't know. One that is not new because he's not even on the team anymore. But I've been looking for this for so long. I got Aaron Jones as a Packer. The pop for that. I've been looking for this for so long, and they had one there, so I got that. Another stop that I made was the Sub Pop store on 7th. And I also hit the Sub Pop store in SeaTac. If you're ever in there, it's the SeaTac shop. Oh my God, it's so great. And it's right between gates C and D, if you ever do make it out there. But I got my first loser shirt in like 30 years. They had a lot of Sub Pop Pride material. So I got this hat that I've been wearing throughout the show. And I got some new vinyl. One is a reissue of the Gits. Yeah, I'm just going to chime in there, James. I did not get any of the Superman Funko Pops. I collected the ones for the DCEU and time out. I can't. I just can't. I can't. But I've been getting other stuff. But yeah, I did see the Hawk Girl pop, and she is a beaut. So this is a reissue of the debut album by the Gits. If you know the story of the Gits, they were a female-led punk band in the 90s in Seattle, transplants from Antioch College in Ohio. And the lead singer was Mia Zapata, who was murdered. And her murder led to some good stuff like the Home Alive program, but a real tragedy, something born out of tragedy, but really good stuff. And then one of Sub Pop's new signings, they've had like 3 albums out. This is their 4th album now, but this is now on Sub Pop. Dance Cold Memory by the band Nation of Language. And, if you need your like 80s retro fill, that does have a couple of other musical standpoints. You certainly can do worse than that. And then also, probably the highlight of the trip was seeing Garbage at the Paramount Theater. And it was, so fucking good. It was so good. I didn't see them in New York because I'm an old fella, and the New York date and the Philadelphia date were both standing venues, and it's really hard for me to manage that these days. But it was a seated venue, though I was on my feet for most of it. And as my souvenir, as I do these days, I picked up a vinyl copy of their current album, Let All That I Am Imagine Be the Light. So
Cool.
There's my geek hits.
So we do have a couple more comments here. Eman's World of Geek did also put a quick little comment here about comics curing cancer. So we haven't really heard about that, but we will check that out. And then also he is taking the girlfriend to Seattle in a couple weeks. Any geeky and foodie recommendations? Any place
went to a couple of good restaurants. I'd have to look through my notes and posts about what they were, but if you want to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, I could do that for you. At least one. I'm not a foodie, but I did go to 3 pretty good restaurants. There was great catering 2 of the 3 days.
So you didn't have to.
And the other date wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to hit me up, I can take a look at my notes and see where I stopped. One was in Queen Anne. One was on the coast, and one was in city proper.
Awesome.
so I can give some food
I-
recommendations, at least from what I have.
I haven't been there. I can't speak to the quality because I have not been there. But there is don't know how deep your pocketbook runs either, but there is a renowned restaurant there that were Seattle on the Michelin guide. There's a restaurant called, Canlis, Canlis, that is renowned, very well known chef, very well known respected chef. They have an amazing tasting menu. I've had people, friends go there. But if you want the full blown tasting menu experience, Canlis in Seattle, you have to. I don't know if you have enough time to get reservations legitimately. But it's a place that's very much on my list of places I will eat.
Yeah, I went to like a fancy place on Saturday night, and I'd have been okay with Arby's.
Like you said, you're not a foodie. Like, so
I'm not
Yeah.
a foodie, but I like a good meal. But I don't base trips around stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a survival eater.
See, we pick restaurants when we pick cities for restaurants. Go
Yeah, I mean Rob does it, and Rob's a foodie, so I tag along with that. But it's just I'm just not wired that way. I'm always thinking of time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend 4 hours here. Yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna go on to our last segment, which is the Woofs of the Week. But before I do, I wanted to point something out. You may not have noticed it because it's been below the view, but I have a shirt on that says Chunk Club, and I also have a hat that says Chunk Club. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Chonk Club. What is Chonk Club, you may ask, Billy Z? Well, Chonk Club is a new app, but think of it more as a bear bar for your phone. I have the app up right now, and it's a fun new app. I've been using it for a few weeks. It's different because everyone on it is 100% vetted by Instagram. You don't have to worry about bots. And they have a really interesting mechanism where you don't encounter endless scrolling. Instead, you walk into the bar each day, you scan the crowd for your 3 favorite people you want to get to know, and you pick them as your daily favorites. May have to, cover up these guys, but, I picked 3 favorites here. I'm not exactly sure that they know they're in for this right now. And from that point, you can woof at them. You can swap photos through the app, or just go right over to Instagram, which it aligns with, and start a chat with them. In some ways, this kind of feels like Growler or Scruff, but crossed with Wordle, because there is like this fun game mechanism to it. And just gonna encourage people to try it out. If you give them a follow on Chonk Club on Instagram, they'll very quickly send you a personal invite code, a link to download the app, and you can get started. So Chonk Club, wanted to promote that
Chunky
here.
boy.
And I want to thank our good friend Sam Kite, who's been on the show in the past. And this app was created by his friend Jeff. Had some very nice conversations with them over the last 2 weeks. So Chonk Club on your app.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll keep the Chonk Club on.
Yeah.
I like the name. That's a great name.
It's just fun.
Yeah. All right, so we are on our last segment. It's something we call the Woofs of the Week. In the bear community, if you find a fella attractive, you woof at him. And we do something very similar here where we woof at something which may be comic book related, but it also may be a film or a television program, charitable initiative, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start, as I always do, with Steve. Steve, what is your Woof of the Week?
Well, Caleb kind of twisted my arm a little bit before the show, and encouraged me to self-promote. So I am going to. So I'm going to talk about my woof being our other podcast. We have a sort of spin-off podcast, Comic Book Bears Presents, The Bear Cave of Terror. So it's a podcast where I talk with a new guest every week. and they bring to us a horror movie that they absolutely love, and we just gab about it. We talk a lot about the making of the film, behind the scenes, the actors, the directors, and just really cool themes that come out of each of these movies. Some of them are classic, some of them are trashy, some of them are just wacky, crazy, and some I'm sure are much well loved by everybody. And our latest episode that came out on Sunday, we do publish a new episode every Sunday, was about the Creep Show, the original Creep Show from 1982, the George Romero Stephen King collaboration. And I have Mr. Ken Creamer of 60 Seconds of Steven on TikTok and Instagram on the show to talk about that. What we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks, we've got A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge with Mike Lovins. We've got Rob Stager joining me to talk about the 1964 Mask of the Red Death as well. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. So,
I didn't even know about that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
Actually just recorded this afternoon. So that will be coming up the first day of November. So, I'm on all of the streaming platforms, all of the the podcasting platforms where you can check me out. Check us out on Bear Cave of Terror on Blue Sky, Instagram, etc. So, there we go. There's my woof. My woof is my stuff.
What I want to know is, I've already been on it twice.
Yes.
When does Caleb get on it?
That's a good question, Caleb.
Yeah,
I know we talked about it when you were getting back from
the Bear Cave of Terror.
Hopefully very soon. Steve and I we've discussed that. We want to pick a show that we both enjoy it, rewatch it, kind of together. Actually, we've talked about doing that where you watch the show while FaceTime like that, but just watch the show. And we just I busy. I've been to literally so far this month. I've been to 3 birthday parties. Came back from a foreign country, worked a billion hours, and I've got a ton of stuff this weekend. So it's finding time, and I've got to do that.
Yeah,
and he's a ballerina.
Yeah, and he's a master ballerina. No, I'm excited for that. And Bill, I know we've got a couple episodes up.
Yeah,
coming up.
We'll get to them. A lot of joy exploitation in the future. There.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. All right, over to Caleb. Caleb, what is your wolf?
I got 2 wolves. I'm splitting them, right? So the first wolf of the week, I want to send out to somebody that I had the opportunity to meet just kind of in passing a few times. But if you pay attention to a lot of like queer spaces on the internet, you may have noticed some posts about a queer activist named Miss Major, who passed away. Miss Major lived in Little Rock. I got to meet her several times. A fascinating lifelong story. Miss Major was at Stonewall when Stonewall happened. She is, she's a trans activist. She then dedicated her life to trans activism and specifically working with trans women who were trying to reincorporate after prison, so coming from prison, trying to get back into the world, working with them, making sure they had places to live and helping finding them careers and jobs and stability and stuff like that. So just wonderful person. And just on a level, how wonderful, genuinely wonderful is it to hear a story about a trans woman, a queer person who died of old age peacefully. I'll take that every day of the week. So cool stuff. But the other wolf of the week, I wanted to give a pop culture wolf of the week, and it goes out to the Netflix series that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, or maybe like me, you've binged and watched, for the quote unquote plot. But Boots on Netflix, which legitimately has a great plot. This is a I say TV show. It's an episodic series set just before Desert Storm kicks off, where a young, a fresh out of high school 18-year-old boy follows his best friend to the Marine Corps, to boot camp. And this guy, he's a twink, right? Like you look at it, he's the kind of guy you're like, dude, like you were very obviously gay in the 80s, right? You're like Reagan era queer. And he was. And so he's obviously closeted. This is, I think Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It's just you couldn't be queer in that era. And so it's him trying to figure out who he is and survive boot camp. It's based off of the book, the Pink Marine, which I've got a copy on the way. I do want to read this. Where it's by Greg Cope White, who the book is about. Cope is who the show is about. He's the main character. talking about being queer in the 80s and in the military and in the Marines, and then, inevitably getting deployed to deal with Desert Storm. Amazing cast, did a great job. At the end of it, there were moments where it got a little CW-ish, but for the most part, they kept it where it needed to be. I thought it was a really, really good story, really, really well done. There are a lot of really good books out there about queer people who served in the military during this era, and even before. There's a book called My Queer War about a gay man in Vietnam too. So lots of good stories out there. I've got lots of friends who served, and so I truly appreciate that aspect of it. So, and then look if you need anything else, fucking eye can't. I mean, just Marine, I mean, just throw me in the middle. Just pour me in honey and toss me in the middle. Like do like push up on me. Like oh my God. There is not an unattractive person in this show. It's just ridiculous. It's stupid. Anyway, go watch it. Great plot.
Okay. I'm sure this predates Caleb, but Steve, do you remember when we started talking about, some of the common tropes on CW shows?
Yeah.
On the show of like 23-year-olds that run multinational corporations.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
every third episode, somebody has to say, "I thought you were my friend."
How
How
could you?
Funny.
You knew I also blah blah blah.
Yeah, and hospitals. How these people are not in bankruptcy in the United States.
The amount of time they spend in hospital rooms.
So many hospital visits, and not like I broke my arm, like comas. Yeah. No. I don't mean to take that away, Caleb. I'm sure that's not the CW-isms you were talking about.
But you're on the right track. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
It's Marine food fights. Just what it is. But yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't the Vampire Diaries. So but
so there are no witches and no ancient werewolves and all that stuff. Yeah,
I do want to throw this out there on that though. Like, there is no right way to be a man, right? There's no right way to be a gay man. But there is a side of the spectrum where there are masculine, quote unquote, which is maybe not the right way, gay dudes. I mean, and Bill and I have had this conversation. And for gay dude like me, I like to work out. I lift weights. I listen to metal. I'm not afraid to punch you in the fucking face. Like, we can go. I've been in multiple bar fights. Don't give a goddamn. Like, let's fucking roll. I can eat your ass and beat your ass. Just whatever you want to choose. But for folks like us, we almost sometimes have an equally hard time fitting into gay culture as we do into straight culture, right? And so I do think it was very important for these type of stories to get told, where you can be a gay man and also a soldier and somebody who can protect yourself and protect others. So again, not the only way to be a man, not the right way to be a man, but a way to be a man and a way to be a gay man.
I gotta follow eat your ass and beat your ass.
Yeah,
okay.
Somehow.
All that.
That'd be a good woof.
My woof of the week is a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
Steve, I gave you some graphics, and if I can show you this, I initially had a different woof plan, but this gentleman was one half of a group that meant a great deal to me. You see the music behind me. Woke up to the news that Dave Ball, who is the instrumentalist half of Soft Cell, passed away overnight. The albums that you see here are the 3 albums that were recorded in the 1980s. Unfortunately, in the U.S., Soft Cell are known as a one-hit wonder in regards to Tainted Love, and I wish people would jump into the catalog a little bit further, because the rewards are many. In terms of the synth acts at the time, and this is not disparaging an act like Depeche Mode, but Depeche Mode kind of carried the torch of the dark subject matter for electronic music. And that certainly is accurate, but Soft Cell went far deeper. Songs that include topics like suicide and kink, and so much of the undercurrent, the sleazy aspects, particularly of life in the early 1980s. There's a song called Numbers on their second album, which was released in January 1983, which arguably is the first reference to AIDS victims. So it's an important catalog. And again, with one half being the vocalist Mark Allman and the other half, with Dave handling all the music. It was a beautiful union. And again, because of the way Mark is wired, Dave was not queer, but he certainly had a lot of queer sensibilities musically. And you can investigate the catalog to find out what there were. There were 2 additional albums that came out as reunion albums, Cruelty Without Beauty and Batteries Not Included. There was an additional album that they just wrapped up last week, which will be released, unfortunately for Dave, posthumously. Since I know those albums inside out, I wasn't really listening to those today, but I did break out my box set of 12-inch singles, and there's a much friendlier version of this with a lot of the same tracks, just because I needed something that was somewhat fresh to me, because I know those albums inside out. They were an important act for me as a teenager growing up. I wasn't a tragic teenager. I had friends. I had a very solid circle of friends. I had very strong support system from my parents, but I was confused. Their music made me feel a little less alone in this world, and that follows you your entire life. And, as I said in a post today, this one hurts. So Dave Ball, rest in peace. Okay. All right. I don't mean to end on a downer, but it can be celebratory if you investigate this music, and especially there's such a good link between synth pop and industrial. Not necessarily too many industrial sounds till you get to their third album, This Night in Sodom, but the mindset is there more than anything else. And I think as time goes on, especially with Dave's passing now, there might be a little more focus on how important a group they were. So
yeah, absolutely. I spent all day listening. I mean, I've listened to them for a long time, and I got to them because I'm an industrial fan. But like it's it's the same thing with Ministry's first album. It's a synth pop album, and then they're Ministry now. But you can definitely see how those bands formulated and built up the musical platform that would become that. And I do want to say on the recent album, one of their most recent releases, they do a cover of Ghost Rider that is amazing. So yeah.
Yeah. And, if you also want to jump, I mean, Mark Allman's solo stuff, he is the most non-commercial commercial artist ever. Yeah. And their treasures there are many as well. And it's nice to see that he indicated that Soft Cell will continue, if only for promotion for this upcoming album. But this one's like I said, sometimes there's, and I don't even want to call celebrity, because who the hell knew his name on a celebrity basis, but with some of these musical acts, as you're getting older and they are passing, for me, this one really hurts. So all right. Well, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. We thank you for joining us tonight. If you joined us through Facebook or one of the other platforms where we are connecting with you live, thank you. Please like and subscribe and leave a good review. On social media, on most outlets, we are Comic Book Bears. Apart from Facebook, where we are Comic Book Bears podcast, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and many of the other podcatching platforms. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. And I don't think I think I covered all the bases there. I'm sorry, I'm a little verklempt because I'm just speaking of, a thing with Dave Ball is that he had a huge fear of flying. So I only saw Soft Cell live once with him. The most recent 2 times, because of health issues, he wasn't part of it, though it was his electronic programming that was played. So I'm just, sucks.
Yeah.
This getting older thing sucks when you're saying goodbye to people that you really admire like this. But we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about more people we admire. I'm really struggling here to make this like a happy ending. Again, we'll see you in about 2 weeks. Take care, everyone.
Well.